Hey guys, we are back here again and welcoming our next guest, somebody who got connected through another former podcaster. And the blind community is, it's pretty prominent on TikTok. And there's a lot of us on there. And there's so many of us that are very supportive. And, there's some intermingling, there's some inner fightings and things like that. But for the most part, everyone I've come across is very supportive and friendly, very informational. And this guy got connected with me, and we've been talking here for a minute. But I like just kind of going in and just cold because you just never know. I think it's fun just to learn on the fly. And we say if you have empathy for somebody's story, you care about what someone's got to say, what they bring to the table, you're going to be okay. And our next guest, and we don't have the exact same condition, but we share the same disability. And yeah, so we're just going to chat. I hope you guys enjoy. All right, buddy, you want to tell us your name, a little bit about yourself?
All right, my name is Jordan. I have a condition called optic nerve hypoplasia. Basically, the nerves in my eyes are underdeveloped. The nerve in my left eye is completely underdeveloped, and the nerve in my right eye is half developed. So, my eye condition, I can see about 10 feet in front of me. Anything over that, it's just a massive blur. Anything under that, I can see decently well. I have no depth perception, nothing at all.
Wow, yeah. And you said you were born with that, right?
Yep. Yeah. I was born with this condition. I've never known anything else, and some days I wonder what it's like to see. But in a way, I'm kind of glad I'm like this because I feel like my vision impairment has like a big part about my personality.
Right, yeah, yeah. I know. I mean, kind of pun intended, but we tend to have really dark sense of humor. So,
Oh
um,
man, it is. One of my best friends has the worst blind joke I've ever been told. Uh, have you ever played Modern Warfare 2, the
yeah,
old one that from 2008?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So do you know the saying 1v1 me on Rust?
I've heard of it, but I couldn't. Yeah, I don't really
All
know.
right.
Not that familiar.
So one one day, I think we were on tour in a small town in Iowa. Uh, he comes up to me, or something happened, and I go 1v1 me on Rust, and he turns around without skipping a beat, says 1v1 me on an eye chart.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we lose on that end. Uh,
I had nothing to say after that. I walked away.
Kind of have to. Yeah, yeah. My dark one was someone asked me if I was going to be an organ donor, and I just said, yeah. The only thing I'm giving away is my eyes, and it's like, yeah, you gotta have a very dark sense of humor. Otherwise, this shit gets really sad and lonely, and you gotta, filter it with some humor every now and then. Um,
Uh,
but it's a lot of it is what you make of it. Um, but it's funny because I go live a lot, and they're always when people come in and they'll be like, "Man, what is it like being blind?" And I'm like, "Well, I have some sight, so I'm not totally blind." So then they're like, "Well, what's that like?" And I'm like, "I can't tell you because I don't know how you see, and you don't know how I see, so I can't
so
explain to you."
I have a cool perspective on that because like people ask me that all the time at work, or so to kind of give you some backstory, I'm from Iowa, but I live in Texas. Um, and it's in Iowa. Iowa is the biggest state in America for visually impaired people. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know.
Well, it's pretty common to, run into a visually impaired person or a blind person. I didn't grow up with visually impaired or blind people, but I had this program called the Iowa Department of the Blind, where once a year I would go to this event with a whole bunch of other visually impaired people. Well, anyway, I didn't really talk to them outside of that event. So I've just kind of always been around quote unquote normal people. And people all the time ask, well, what's it like being blind? since you can see what like what they're always like, what do you see of your left eye? And I say nothing, and they go, what do you mean nothing? I say, I don't see anything, no shadow, no color, no black, nothing. And they're just like, that doesn't make any sense. And I always go, try to look behind you without looking behind you. And they go, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I mean, my left eye is easy to explain to them because it's like, hey, it's just colors and motions. It's my right eye. It's hard to explain to them because I can see some, but it's not perfect. It's not great, but it gets me by.
Hmm.
And so that's always the one where, and so when they ask me, it's like, yeah, man, unless I can see how you can see for a minute and you can see how I can see, it's hard to compare or how to tell you, but I can explain kind of how the blurriness is and things like that. But yeah, and again, like you and I have been dealing with this for a long time, and as we were saying off the recording, is it gets old though. Like there's good days, and I would say most days are good days, even though our eyes still suck. Um, we still make the most of it. I think we thrive as best we can, and we live our lives and enjoy it. But there still is days like your eyes. Do they fluctuate?
Um, no, not really. It's just kind of been crappy vision my entire life. I was told that it would never get better or decrease. The only time my vision will get bad is just with age, like everybody else.
Right. Okay. Yeah. See, mine fluctuate from time to time, whether it's allergies or too much of one drop and this and that. Um, and so some days I really don't know what I'm gonna wake up to. I may wake up to another good eye day, which is still a bad eye day for everyone else, but a good eye day for me, and I'm like, yay. And the next day, I may have 12 of those in a row, and then wake up, boom, my eyes are really red, very irritable, and they're fluctuating and very sensitive to the light, and that's what I've been dealing with lately. And apparently, it's from taking this eye drop Lumify for too long. You take it for too long, eventually it has this buildup, and you got to take like 10 days off of taking it because your eyes, it's almost like your eyes are like permanently dilated for a while. And it's a pain in the ass because, like I said, I want to just do everything I'm normally doing, but now that my eyes are so sensitive to the light, it makes it harder. So I got to wear glasses and all that jazz. So, but yeah, that's what I mean by, like I said, it gets old real fast because for me, my eyes, I never know what I'm going to expect day to day.
And the biggest thing for me is I try to tell people that, blindness is a spectrum. My blindness and your blindness, yeah, in a sorts, we're both blind, but we are one of one for blindness. We have two different types of blindness, and we go through every day differently, even though we're categorized in the same category. And people just don't understand that. Like the group that we're in with everybody else, we're all blind and we all can have that common connection because we understand each other. But at the end of the day, all of our blindness is different because every person's eyes are a one of one. And I try to tell people that, and they try to understand, and like some people get it and some people don't. But I just say blindness is a spectrum.
Yeah, and that's that's why I always get tired of all the interminglings, all the arguing between, blind versus legally blind and light perception. Always like some like to be like the gatekeepers and say, you're not blind enough. You're not. It's like there's nobody that has control to say what you are or what you aren't. Everybody has their own struggles, and it's hard to say whose life is harder, and I don't think it really matters. It's you can't compare it because no one really knows what each can see, and either way, being alive is still a gift, whether you have a little bit of sight, some sight, or no sight. And it's like for me, I've always tried to keep it as positive as I can, even though some days are hard. But I try not to get in the middle of some of these. I've seen them online where they're just rabid, and they're just some will tell you that you're not this or you're not that. And the funny part is when a blind person tells a legally blind person that they're not blind, it's almost like they're telling them they're sighted. And it's like, do you understand? Like, I may not be on the same street as you, but I'm down the street. The person you're telling me I'm closer to is like on another planet. So you and I are very close. But I don't know. I don't know if you've seen a lot of those
Oh
stupid.
man, my biggest video, it's just the comments. Like some of them are going. I had somebody on the video go, well, then you're not legally blind if your vision's not 20/200 or something like that. And I'm just like, you don't know my story. How are you gonna be my doctor? You don't know the half of it. I'm not gonna put my health, all of my health, out there on the internet. This is for me and me only. I don't mind talking about my vision on the internet because for me, it's a sense of humor thing. I think it's funny that I'm blind and I do all these things that quote unquote I shouldn't be able to do. Like one of my best friends, the one that has the funniest eye joke that I've ever been told is he's just I don't
Yeah.
get it. I'm like, what do you mean you don't get it? He goes, how are you blind but you do so much and it just makes me forget that you're blind. So like in Europe, going down mountains is much harder than going up a mountain for me because rocks blend in since I don't have that depth perception.
Sure.
And I'm like, hey man, you gotta slow down and tell me like when there's a step, like a deep step, or be kind of safe right here or whatever. He's like, why? I was like, dude, I can't see these rocks. I can't tell when to step. Like I know when to step down because common sense, but I can't tell how far the step really is.
Yeah.
And he goes, dude, I just forget that you're blind all the time. And I go, ah, me too. I
Yeah.
forget all the time. And he just starts laughing.
Yeah. I think the two best compliments I've ever received is that one and that I carry it well. Because there are a lot of people that don't carry their blindness or their disabilities well, right? Like it's
Hmm.
they lean in towards the victim mentality of like, oh, poor
Yes.
me, poor little blind person. And it's like, no, man, you can't do that either, man. I get it. Like that's the thing. I think we've all been there, but you gotta grow out of that because you're making us look bad, and they're gonna treat us all like that, and we're not. Um, but yeah, I think the best thing you can hear is, "Hey, man, I forgot you were blind." Because the thing is like I don't know how your eyes look, but mine are noticeable. You can tell mine are red, and they just look different from others. And you know, uh, people will like I'm on my lives all the time, and they're just like, "What happened? What's wrong with your eyes? This? Are you high?" And all these other things. And at some point, I'm like, guys, you have to just get to know me a little bit. I promise you, you're just treat me like a human. I'll give you any
Hmm.
information that you want. But the people who are around me, they know, like they forget because I don't carry myself like that. I pride myself in not being this helpless blind person. Um,
And
yeah.
I don't know if you have this issue or not, but I try to avoid telling like random people if I know I'm only gonna have one interaction with them or just a handful of interactions, maybe that day or like at an event or something.
Yeah.
I won't even bother telling them because the second I do, they treat me like I'm this less of a human or less of a person. I couldn't tell you how many times I've gone somewhere and go, oh, I'm blind, and they treat me like I'm five. I'm like,
Yeah.
well, why do you got to treat me like I'm less of a person now that I'm visually impaired? By definition, sure, I'm quote unquote handicapped, but I don't live a handicapped lifestyle. I don't live like you said. I don't live in pity. I still do everything I can to be independent and to do what I want to do out of life. And I just try not to tell people because if you don't really know me as a person, they treat me like I'm this less of a person.
Sure. Yeah. I've gotten that. Have you ever ran into the people who get annoyed at you for not being a stereotype? Where it's like,
Yes,
hey, you don't have a dog or dark glasses or a cane. How am I supposed to know? it's like,
yes,
it's like fuck off.
yeah, no. And I don't know about you, but they wanted me in school. They wanted me to do all of that training for the cane and everything, and I just refused it because in school I stuck out like a sore thumb as it was,
Mm,
and I didn't want to stick out even more. And because in school that's all you care about is other people's opinions, and it's so hard to step away from that mindset
right.
of not of caring about people. And it's so hard because that's what you're focused on in life at the time, and you're not thinking about real life, because school is not real life. And unfortunately, kids, they don't do it, I think, out of hate. They do it because they're curious. And a lot of my interactions with people, and back in school and in high school and stuff, wasn't from a hate standpoint. It was just a curiosity standpoint. But I was at the point of, I'm so sick of people asking, and so tired of people wondering. And I'm just like, shut up. Who cares that I'm blind? And I try to remind myself that they're curious because they don't live this lifestyle. And so now every time somebody asks about it, I try to, I don't try to get upset or mad about it. I just try to explain it in a way that they might understand.
Yeah, yeah. No, and some people are just literally just curious, and I like I said with the lives, like people are always coming in. I have mods, and sometimes I tell them, relax, don't block this person, because some people, they're just their approach is terrible, but they mean well. They just want to know because they've never seen somebody online with, or just in the world, with eyes that look like mine. So they're like, well, what the hell is this? What's going on? It's just their approach and their execution is so, morbid that it's like, all right, guys, you gotta try a different approach. But I get you. Okay, here's some information, because I'm all for educating them. I really am. I'm all for
Hmm.
giving people some information so that next time they see another person who's legally blind or blind, they'll treat them, maybe they'll treat them a little differently. Because that's what we need is more education. There's too many people that are just dumb to the idea and ignorant that hey, we're people. Like I was watching this. I was working at this Center for Independent Living, and their whole goal is to make people with disabilities more independent. And I was watching this like webinar, and the whole webinar was about explaining that people with disabilities also desire sex. And I'm like, is this how stupid people are? Like, really? Like, you understand we have all the same, everything is the same. All the inner workings. It's just one of our body parts or multiple body parts are just a little different. But at the same time, we are people. So the fact that we have to explain the most basic things to the world is still baffling to me in 2025. Now, I watched this in 2023, but still, same time zone.
That see, that just blows my mind. It's like at the end of the day, and no matter what country you're from, what color your skin is, what ethnicity you are, or whatever you are, we are all human. We all have hearts. We all have a soul. We all have emotion.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are as the person. You could have one leg or one arm, or no arms or no legs, or no legs, no arms. And at the end of the day, we also have a heart. We also have emotions. We're human. We're human beings. We're animals at the end of the day. And that just blows my mind that people will look at any kind of disability and make that seem like they're a different animal, in the sense, is the way I would put it. And
Yeah.
it just blows my mind that some people just can't fathom the idea of somebody having a disability and doing life in a way.
Yeah, I know I keep bringing up my TikTok lives, but it's just because I'm on there a couple times a day, and I meet hundreds of people. And so about a month and a half ago, someone came in and they were legitimately asking me how do I take a shower, and I'm like, sir, I would almost understand if you were like if you saw that I was paralyzed. I mean, there's
Hmm.
still ways of doing it, but that seems more unfathomable than someone with a visual disability. I'm like, sir, like, it's literally just going. Even if I was totally blind, all I literally and I suggested was just a smart ass. I was like, I just put one leg in and bring the other leg in, turn the knob. Like, I just was being a complete smart because I'm like, sir, like, it's just showering. Like, it's not,
Right.
like it's just the same way for everybody. Like, I'm not a helpless person, and like I said, it bothers me sometimes how ignorant some people are, because it's like what? How did we get here? And I think it's just
You know,
because our community, meaning the disability community, like we're still like there's still a lot of information that's lacking when it comes to us. And I get it because there's more of us than any other community, meaning like different variations of us. But
hmm
it's amazing how society just doesn't understand us and really gives us a chance to just fit in with society, because it's just not built for us, not meant for us.
and like I've had it since I've been on 38 flights this year. I have so many people ask, "Well, how do you get around the airport as a blind person?" I'm just like, it's common sense. It's not hard. Like I've had so many people go, "Well, it's so hard traveling through an airport as a person that can see." And I'm like, "No, it's not. If I'm blind and I can do it, you can do it just fine." I've had so many people just they complain about like how hard airports are to get around, or they go, "Man, I just couldn't do it alone." And I'm just like, "Why not? What's stopping you? What's stopping you from going to the airport and getting on that flight?" You know, I've had some people like my mom, for example. She's not a layover person. She hates layovers. If the layover is 2 hours, she's complaining. And and I always just say, well, I don't mind the layovers because I take the opportunity to explore and better surround myself with that airport. So next time I'm there, I can get through it faster and better understand it. And she might not understand that completely because she can see it, and that's fine. But I don't mind them long layovers. Like, man, last year in July, I got stuck in Denver for 20 hours because of the whole Windows crash that happened. I just spent 6 hours in Germany. I just spent, let's see, 2 months ago, I was in Dallas for 6 hours. I spend a lot of time in layovers, and I don't mind them because I can just keep exploring the airport and get it down better in my head. Because yeah, the nice thing about airports is there's a lot of audio cues that people don't really realize, because you're not thinking clearly at an airport. You're going, okay, I gotta get to my gate. I gotta get this. I'm trying to get food. I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to do that. Whatever. And I try to tell people, just slow down and think clearly. I promise you, you don't need to be there by the pre-board time or the board time. I say pre-board time because I take full advantage of my travel benefits, man. As a visually impaired person, there's so many travel benefits we get for free, and I take advantage of pre-board. So that's another reason why I don't mind the long layovers. Is I try to get there for the pre-board, and pre-board is normally about 5 minutes before actual pre-board or boarding.
Okay. Yeah, I've gotten that a lot when it comes to like taking the subway or anything like that. It's just like I don't get it. I have trouble, and it's like, yeah, I guess it's difficult in general, but yes, it is a little more difficult for someone like us. But once we get used to it, it just becomes like second nature. It just go on autopilot. Like there's times where I'm not even using my eyes really. I'm just looking straight ahead and just kind of navigating my surroundings, and I can sense when things are getting closer and all that. And so I know how to, unless some random thing, especially if it's a place I know, unless some random thing gets thrown in the middle, I'm gonna fly through there like anyone else can, if not faster.
hmm
It's just, again, new surroundings. Then it takes me a minute and all that, and I figure it out. But once I do, it's easy. But yeah, like I said, that's why I love doing stuff like this, because it's, you just hope someone comes across it, maybe a mother or somebody who has a child, or somebody who is new to the disability world, and they're just trying to navigate it, and they're just like, I can't do this. And it's like, no, man, like you can. Neither of us are going to tell you it's easy, but you can do it. It's possible. It's just a lot of time and effort into yourself.
Oh, dude, absolutely, man. And like, so for example, or not for example, but last year in June, me and my ex separated, and the first question I had was, well, how do I get to work now? How do I do everything? Because what I didn't realize was how codependent I was as a person. And you know, I had somebody earlier this year tell me, uh, well, if you're in a relationship, you should be able to rely on them to, help you out. I was like, well, yeah, sure, that's fine, but independence is such a freedom that no one understands unless it's taken away from you in a way that, you know, can't be explained. Because if you can't drive and your hardest situation in life is transportation, how do you succeed in America specifically, where, public transport in a lot of these states are terrible? And that's kind of what motivated me to start doing all this traveling I'm doing, so I could find a place that I can call home. Like this year I've been to Chicago, I've been to Indiana, I've been to San Francisco twice, I've been back to Iowa twice. Last year I went to New York, and I've just, I've been traveling to figure out a place that I can call home as a blind person. And I landed on San Francisco's what I liked the most and what, fits my needs and my wants as a visually impaired person, because I don't want to live a codependent life the rest of my life. Like my dad, he asked, well, why California? And I said, well, it doesn't snow. I'm not a big fan of snow. It's just not who I am. I don't like it. I don't like to be forced to be inside. I'm definitely not a introvert. I'm more of an extrovert. I always say I'm a forced introvert. And, my dad is just like, well, it's so expensive there and it's so expensive, everywhere in California. And I'm just like, I got to give and take. I'm willing to pay the high prices to have public transport and to be able to be free. And he's just like, well, what's wrong with Iowa? Everybody here is willing to help you and help you get around from point A to point B. And I'm super grateful that everybody's willing to help back home. But, I just had a harsh realization that, one day everybody around me is going to die. And, I'm 23. I turned 24 on Friday. And I would rather struggle in my 20s like I'm supposed to be doing right now and figure independence out at the same time than figure out independence when I'm 50, 60 years old when, unfortunately people are going to die. There's two things in this world that are promised: death and taxes.
Yep. Yeah, I've talked about this as someone in their 30s. I because of my mental health and all the trauma that I suffered as a kid, I'd spent a lot of all my teenage years, and primarily most of my 20s and maybe even a little bit of my 30s, just feeling sorry for myself and being scared of life. And I can't do this. How the hell am I going to do that? No, that's too much for me. And who's going to love me? Who's going to do that? Like, I had that disabled mindset. Like, I can't do this because I'm disabled. And man, it stuck with me for a long time. Excuse me. And I was having so much trouble getting out of that mindset. I had to just force myself to, nah, man, you can do something. I had lost a job a few years ago, and I was like, who the hell's going to hire me now? And I got another job, and it's like, okay, so I proved myself wrong. Like, every time I feel like I start to doubt myself, I always find a way to make a comeback. And I finally just started, like, trusting in myself, going, you know what, like, you've made it through everything. 100% of everything you've been through, you've made it through. So calm down, and one way or another, we're going to dig our way out of this hole and that hole. And but it's a lot of time and effort you got to put into yourself trying to convince yourself, because your demons are just going to prey off of you, and you got to just convince yourself that you're going to be okay. Even when it gets really dark and bleak, you still are just like, yeah, as long as you got something, like you see that little bit of light and you have something to push towards, you're all right, because you still see the direction that you needed to be headed into it, and you start heading that way. And like I said, no matter how slow it is, it doesn't matter. Don't matter the pace, just keep heading in that direction. And I think so many see that light and they're like, it's too small, or they don't see the progress, they don't see the light getting brighter, and they just go, I don't want to do it anymore. And I get that, but I just don't know how to give up anymore. I just keep fighting, even when I don't want to fight anymore. Even when I don't got anything left in the tank, I'm just like a hospital. Like, my backup generators kick in, and I just keep going.
Yeah, and You know, like I told you yesterday, I was like, man, we can make anything happen anytime.
All right, guys. We're back. I just had to go grab something, and we're gonna continue. So sorry, my friend. Go ahead, buddy.
Honestly, I forgot what we were talking about.
It's all good. I was talking about the just having that mindset, changing it because
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
yeah. Go ahead.
Um, it's just it's important to have that like never give up mindset and to keep yourself going. And when you wake up and you have something for yourself and something that you look forward to for you have a much better mindset. Like you know, like yesterday we were talking about where I told you, man, we can make anything happen anytime. I'm open. I'm willing to get up early. You know, people have the wrong idea, I feel like, about work or life. A lot of people will go, oh, what about this weekend? I have work all week. Well, what are you doing after work? Well, I got to go home. I got to do this. Okay, well, what about later that night? Well, I can't. I got this. And, and something I learned in Europe was no one looks forward to doing nothing there. And, I can't think of the name of the book. It's, it's a term in Japan. People, when they think about retirement there, they don't think about nothing. They still always do something. And that's something I learned in Europe was they're always doing something all the time, every day, every hour. There's not a time where I saw them doing nothing. It was very rare that they were doing nothing. I mean, we took some breaks, to take a nap here and there, but the idea of doing nothing just wasn't even possible, and that like was so amazing to me,
Yeah.
and it just made America look like it was on easy mode, and in a sense. Obviously, I do think we do work much harder. Economy wise, we definitely have it better off, but the idea of doing nothing just was not a term they even considered, and that to me was so motivating. And we got invited to a gentleman's home to have a barbecue with his family, and we get there and it's this beautiful home, man. I would say it's probably worth about $1 million. Like if it was back here in America, and we're talking, and he just casually says, "Oh yeah, well we built this house by hand," and me and my buddy go, "Wait, what? You guys built this?" He goes, "Yeah," and he's casually just saying, "Oh, well, we built this," and him and me and my buddy are looking at each other like, "What do you mean you built this?" And he goes, "Yeah, well we built it by hand, me and my dad." And I'm like, "What?" That concept just does not exist. Here in America, you don't. It's very rare that you could find, a son and dad that will build their home by hand,
Right.
and that just was like, well, I was like, wow. And he's like, yeah, we bought this land in 2016. There was nothing here. They built it all by hand, and that was so motivating. And they're very resourceful. He has a punching bag, and if you're not going to use sand or rocks, um, to put in the punching bag, what would you put in the punching bag?
Uh, shit. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, he used grass from when he'd mow the grass, and dude, that blew my mind. I'm like, who thinks about using grass?
Yeah. Right. Wow. Has to be a lot of grass though.
Oh man, he said it took him he said it was like it was over time, like building it up. It was only about a little less than halfway full. The punching bag was, but the fact that the fact that you can think about using grass that resourceful is mind blowing to me. And it kind of goes back to the idea of everybody wants to be rich and wants to be successful and wants all the money and the girls or guys or whatever, but nobody wants to put in the work or the effort to make it happen. um,
Right.
I'm a big believer in everything counts. The Friday nights that you didn't go out to the bar, the Saturdays that you you got up early to go to the gym, or Sunday mornings or Saturday nights you stayed in to work on that business or write or do whatever you need to do that makes you happy. Everything counts, not just the times that you think it counts.
Yeah, I've noticed that with the current generations. It's just like, man, it's like if you can't get it instantaneously, they don't want it.
Hmm.
And it's just on to the next, on to the next. Right? It's like dating with like all the dating sites, like Tinder and Bumble and all that. You're just swiping, and next, I don't feel like it. Like, something about them just says I don't want to talk to you. And even if you look at like music and movies and TV shows, like all of entertainment, it's like you could tell creativity has just died because it's
Hmm.
now, especially music specifically, where it's just everything you hear now is something sampled from like 10 years ago or even recent. Like, it's just like, what is this? They're just taking songs, taking the whole song and just basically throwing on another rapper or throwing in maybe a new verse or something, but you're literally taking someone's whole song and you're not even being creative. And
Hmm.
it's like it seems like every idea has been done on TV and the movies. And it's like where happened to actual like hard work, hard labor, like putting in the time and effort in. Like my grandma has one of those. She has like an old school grandfather clock made out of real wood, made by hand. You can't even buy that
Hmm.
anymore because they don't
No.
they don't make them. And it's like, damn, man, like, it's just like when my grandma's whole generation dies and the generation after that dies, what do we have? Because I mean, as much as, regardless, I don't vote, I don't get into politics, but like, what happens when we just outsource everything to every other country? Like, we don't make anything anymore. So what do we do? Because like we're in debt to China and these other countries because
Hmm.
we got lazy. We stopped being creative. And when you go back and you can see some of those old cars and just everything, like they had to put real love and hard work into making these things. Now it's just like, yeah, man, we'll just put it, run it through a little assembly line in a factory, and good to go. Goodbye. And it's like
And
nothing's the same anymore.
not just that, but the first thing I immediately noticed, in Europe was, well, Bulgaria, the that nothing there was, and from a factory. It was very hard to find products that, came in a can or a bottle.
Right.
It was pretty common to find bottled water, 'cause, obviously, I feel like that's pretty common, but, everybody drank water out of a bottle or had their own bottle or whatever. And it was so common. The food was so clean and it was so good, and everybody helped everybody. There wasn't, you know, by definition, I bet you my salary and their currency, I probably had quote unquote more money, you know, quote unquote. Obviously, I don't, but like quote unquote, I probably had more money to my name than they all had together combined. But the thing I noticed over there was everybody was a team player. Everybody helped everybody. The food was local. Um, Everything was local, and there was vendors that had like Red Bull and stuff like that where you could get that. Because man, I was surviving on Red Bull the whole week. I
Hmm.
jet lag and then just immediately straight to work when we got there. I needed the caffeine, but man, that's the biggest difference I could take away from Bulgaria was it's a free for all here. You come back and it's defend for yourself, and there strangers and people come together for music, and everybody made sure you had something if you needed it.
Yeah, that's definitely lacking here. I mean, COVID didn't make anything. It made things a lot worse, but
Hmm.
it wasn't great before that. And it's just I think as Americans, a lot of times we use things as excuses, right? Like we use the election or
Yes.
whatever. We'll just say, "Oh man, see, look how divisive we are." But it happens all the time. The only time I remember we came together was after 9/11. After that, like there hasn't really been much where you see people hand in hand, like all races and cultures together. And
Mm-mm.
it's sad because I mean, like I said, we see it in our own disability community. We see it everywhere in the world. And as soon as one event happens, you have to pick a side, left or right. Which one do you want? Even though, like I say this all the time, that everyone likes to make it black or white, but for me, as a visual impaired person, I guess I see more than most because the gray,
Hmm.
dwarfs the white and the black combined. But no one can, for some reason, most people can't see the gray. And it's like, why do we do the things we do? Why can't we just change the system instead of going, no, let's go that way or that way? And a lot of times these people don't even really believe, like let's just say Republican or Democrat, people don't even really believe in their candidate. It's just they don't want the other side to win. So then it's like, oh, well, I'm just going to vote this way just because. And it's like, no, that's a stupid
Right.
reason too. So can we change the system? Can we not vote and force them to give us people that are worth voting for? No, we won't do that. So it's like, what are we doing here? Like, and it's with everything. Like, America is just like, we're so hard headed and we have to have it our way. And we forget how good we actually have it and compared to most. Even though our country is corrupt and all fucked up like everyone else's, we have it so good and we have everything at our disposal and everything is so easy and it's just, but we just go, nah, you know what, I got it the hardest. And you don't, because you don't even have the hardest here. And there's people living on the street and they get by. There's people that deal with, crazy circumstances and they get by. So, I mean, that's why I love having these conversations with you or anyone else, because it makes me feel grateful for the life that I have, even if it's not anything, eccentric. It's just a good life.
You know, I totally agree with that. And the biggest thing I've been trying to learn is, you know, I'm trying to stop caring about other people's opinions as much as possible, and how they might think about like what I wear or where I live, or what I'm doing. I'm just doing what I want to do for myself. And the biggest thing I like to say is, you know, over the last year, I've gotten really, really into investing and getting way more serious with it. I like just this year alone, from
Nice.
now or from January to now, man, I've invested about $1,300 into my Roth IRA. That's just this year. Not including the little bit I put in last year, or including my 401k and stuff like that. People, they they don't understand that building wealth takes time and your money to mature, and you can't be a millionaire tomorrow. Like I like to use um gosh, why can't I think of his name now? Uh, the billionaire, um, is like well known for stocks. Uh, oh my gosh. Anyway,
No, you're good. You're good, buddy. You're good.
he, he didn't become a billionaire until he was 60 years old. People have this idea that, you have to have your money figured out by your 25, or your your life figured out by your 18, or if you don't have, money by 30, you're a failure. If you don't have money by 25, 30, 35, 40, you're a failure.
Right.
And that's not true. You can build your wealth up and be financially free when you're 50. It doesn't matter if it's tomorrow, 10 years, 20 years, or 6 months. It's up to you to be financially free, and how you put your money where you want it to go for you. And everybody's plan has to be different. Like
Yeah.
one of my buddies, he's currently in school to be a teacher. And I joke around all the time and go, man, look at all the debt that you went into just to make $60,000 a year. And he just, he laughs. But, I tell him, I was like, man, I'm glad that you're going to be a teacher, because, we need better teachers out there, man. And we need teachers that care about the kids and care to help and make an impact. And that's the kind of teacher he wants to be. And everything isn't about money, and everything isn't about, how much you can do or do that, or buy a yacht or buy that car. I'd rather have nothing to my name and a whole bunch of money in my bank account, and be able to go anywhere I want, and not live an inflated life and just so everybody thinks I'm successful. I would rather look like a bum and be happy than have everything I want and secretly be in a lot of debt.
Yeah, right. Well, so I do these things, these videos that I call them the blind fit check of the day, and I like matching my outfits, and I was like I'm really big into shoes and things, and but I try to let people know minus the shoes. I'm like the outfit is cheap. Like these are just like Levi cargo pants that are like 30, $40 at most. Like this is just like a $20 t-shirt and a $20 hat, and I'm like this is easy to put together. Like I'm not showing you some luxurious outfit. I could afford a little more than what I'm paying for, but I don't care about stuff like that. Like I just like to live comfortably, and I like what I like,
Hmm.
and it's not about buying all these expensive things. If that's what you like, that's cool, but it's not gonna if you think that's the one thing that's gonna make you happy, it's not. Like we constantly are trying
No.
to improve our life, trying to improve ourselves. Like I see so many women that are just like give me the BBLs and the tits and all these things, and it's like yeah, that's cool, man, but that doesn't mean you're gonna be happy with yourself, because then you're gonna get the scars from that, right? And this and that is gonna come from it, and you're still gonna not like yourself in some way, shape, or form. So it's about what comes from within. If you don't like yourself from within, then it's not going to matter what you think about yourself on the outside, because you're never going to be perfect enough for your own self-image. So you got to just like what you like, and you got to start looking at your life through a different lens, because you could look at your life in two different ways. Because I've been saying this so much lately, but like I stopped looking at all the people who had the things that I wanted. I was like, man, I don't have a house, or I don't have a girlfriend or whatever. And I started looking at all the people that would just die to be where I'm at right now, whether it's
Hmm.
having over 11,000 followers on TikTok, whether it's having my own place and being independent, or having a little bit of sight, or having friends, having my grandma still around, or whatever, right? Like there's so many ways you could look at it. Yeah, is my apartment huge? Absolutely not. It's a decent sized apartment, but I wish it was bigger, but it's not living on the streets. It's not, I'm not poor. I'm not, homeless and all that. So there's so many ways you could look at your life. It's easy to look at it from the negative lens, because it's just like nothing's ever going to be good enough. But if you can, change that mindset, because it trickles down from the top, and the top is your brain. And if you could start to rewire that and start to go, you know what, like life isn't that bad. It could be a hell of a lot better, but it damn sure could be a hell of a lot worse. And I think so many, and me included, had just was looking at my life through this negative lens, and it was dragging me down. And I realized that nothing was ever going to be good enough for me, and I was constantly trying to be good enough for everyone else. Meanwhile, I didn't like myself. And so it was like, okay, so maybe I should just start loving me. And then when people say shit about me, whether good or positive, get good or negative, good will obviously matter, but it doesn't matter in the end of the day, because as long as I love myself, it's good enough.
Exactly. And like you just said, for example, you said $40 pants, $20 shirts. Man, you lost me at $40 pants. I'm out.
I got you. Yeah, I know.
Like I man, I would rather go spend 15, $20 on pants at like Ross or something.
Sure. Yeah, no, I got you. I mean, again, yeah, you could definitely do even cheaper, but like I said,
Oh, dude, yeah.
some people see my
Yeah.
shoes and they're just like, "Oh man, he's got to have this outfit is unattainable," and I'm like, "No, minus the shoes. Like for the most part, with the shoes, some of them are cheaper, but
Yeah.
I'm like the
Like
outfits
I
are
have
doable."
I'm a big shoe person, my guy, and I have two pairs of Yeezys, so uh those cost me a lot of money.
Yeah, but you gotta spoil yourself once in a while, man. You gotta like for the hell that we go through on a daily basis. Like we forget about it because we deal with it every day, but sometimes you just gotta go. You know what? I'm buying myself a birthday gift, or I'm taking myself out to lunch because I fucking deserve
Hmm.
it. And I don't. When it comes down to it, are you gonna spend on a new pair of shoes or your rent? You know better. Like you're gonna keep yourself
Right.
in a home. You know that, but when you have it, it's like, you know what, man, what am I going to do with this money? Am I going to save it my whole life? Like, maybe I should just buy myself a new laptop right now because I need one. And I deserve it. I can't hold on to this laptop for the next 10 years at some point you gotta just splurge on yourself. Maybe not all the time, but every now and then, just buy yourself something nice. Just treat yourself for all the shit you had to put up with, including the shit you had to put up with from yourself. Because
Hmm.
we are our biggest abusers by far. We abuse the
Oh,
shit out of
for
ourselves.
sure. And it's just like, it's kind of like going back to the whole splurge thing. Is I'm trying to remind myself that it's okay to spend a little money because I don't know if you've seen my series or not, but
No, I'm gonna start now.
uh, I just I just dropped episode 1 last Friday, where I'm saving $10,000 before April of next year to move to San Francisco.
Okay.
And every 2 weeks I'm gonna do an episode. My goal is to put $500 into the fund every 2 weeks. Um, but sometimes I might not be able to, and that's gonna suck. And I'm gonna make a video every time that I add money to the fund, and I'm excited to see where I'm at in April next year. I fly out to San Francisco January 31st of next year to go look at apartments. I'm gonna be there for a full week. I'm gonna look at 3 to 4 apartments a day. My goal is to look at 25 apartments in 1 week, and my goal is to find at least 5 to 7 apartments that will accept me without proof of income. And I want to use proof of funds. Some places don't let you do it. A lot of them don't. But you can, if you might be able to find, like a local apartment building that's owned by one person. And so that's my goal, is to, make it happen. Cause like a lot of people go, well, isn't it going to be hard to move without a job? And I go, yeah, but it's going to work out. I believe in myself, and I believe that I'll find a spot, and wherever that is, it's where it is. And then, people go, well, California is, it's scary there. It's like, well, it's my life, man. It's just, I'm going to live the way I want to live, not the way you want me to live.
Yeah, and if you live in fear your whole life, you're never gonna get anywhere. So, yeah, I mean, it's easy to be scared. I mean, how we're at a huge disadvantage at life. Like everything is not in focus. But if you run your whole life, you're never gonna find what you want. So, and I think so many people have their ideal, the white picket fence and all that horseshit. Like, oh man,
Hmm.
that's the dream life. And it's like, for some people that's not. Like, some people being going to school and being a doctor or a lawyer, like, that's not what they want to do. They literally just want to work, at a fruit stand and just cut up fruit and make smoothies and shit. Like, that's just what they want to do, and that's okay. Like, just because it's not your ideal thing and it may sound boring or sound like, wow, I don't that can't pay well or whatever. Okay, sure, but if they
Right.
love it, who cares? I'm not bothering anybody. Let them do their
You know,
thing.
and, and one of my best friends, for example, man, he, a lot of my friends have a lot holding them down back in Iowa, and that's fine. But I have 2 friends that, don't have much holding them back. And, one of them, he's content living a simple lifestyle on it. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, I envy, the fact that you can just live in a small town and work for a small company and, not make a lot of money and be happy. He doesn't make much, but man, he is one of the happiest people I know. And I'm jealous that he can be that content with life. And, and I'll never judge. I make fun of him sometimes, because we're friends. We've been friends since we were 9 years old. If you're not making fun of your best friends, are you even friends? And,
Right. Absolutely.
and I tell him, I'm just like, man, I wish I could do that. And he goes, well, I can't. And I said, I just have too much to live for. I feel like, I, I I'm blind for a reason, and I need to figure out why. And I feel like my reasoning is I need to do something for the blind community in some way. I want to move mountains in ways that, people are scared to do. And that's my goal, is to, leave an impact on the community somewhere in life. And, my other friend that, doesn't have much going on in Iowa, I tell him he wants to get into content creation. I was like, man, move to San Francisco with me. Let's get a place, and let's do this and do that. And he's just like, yesterday he's just like, well, I have to get somebody to drive me there, because so he's got really bad anxiety, and it's just fearful of getting behind the wheel. I was like, dude, move to San Francisco. It's the same reason why I'm moving is because it's got good public transport. And then, yesterday he was just like, well, what about my snake? And how do I get there? I was like, ask someone to drive you. I'm literally, man, one of my closest friends is driving
Hmm.
5,000 miles to get me there. He's driving from Iowa to Texas, Texas to San Francisco, and then San Francisco back to Iowa.
Wow.
He's literally gonna take 2 weeks off of work. Um, we're gonna make a road trip out of it. He's excited, man, and I'm just like I'm so grateful that he's willing to do this for me. And I told him like, man, you have no idea how much this means to me. And he's just like, dude, I'm glad to help. He doesn't need to take uh time out of his busy life to drive 17 hours. So I live in South Texas. So I'm at the bottom of Texas, and I'm really close to Mexico to kind of give you an idea. So
Okay.
once you get to Texas, man, it's 10 hours in Texas just to get to where I'm at.
Sure. Okay.
Um, and he's just like, I don't care. I was like, all right, because I was like, man, it's 17 hours to get from Iowa to me, and then it's like another day and 5 hours to get to San Francisco. He's like, I don't care. He's like, all right, let's do it then.
Yeah, that's a good friend.
Oh, dude, for sure. And I told him like, man, you always have a couch where if you ever need it.
I think that's always been one of my biggest struggles is that because I can drive, I if I did, I would be that person. Right? Like I have a lot of friends who struggle and they don't get around a lot because transportation is our biggest problem, right? But
Uh huh.
if I could drive, I would be that friend that's like, hey, you need picked up? I'll take you wherever you want to go. Um, that's one of the few things I had to like swallow my pride for in my life, where I just had to be like, okay, you can't do this. It sucks.
Yep.
Um, yeah, that's something like I said. I've always been that friend, but I can't go that route because of the one limitation that I really do have. Um,
And like my grandma, she we talked I think 2 days ago, and she was like, I retire in 2 years. Why don't you just come back and I could drive you around? I'm like, that's just not what I'm trying to do. It's just like, cause she's like, cause I told her I was like, I'm only saving 10 grand before the move, and she goes, that's not enough money, and I'm just like, I got to do what I got to do for me. I know 10 grand isn't much, but it's enough to get me there and a few months of rent at least.
yeah. Well, and again, I love my grandma. I have a very good relationship with her, and in her time, making money off of creating content and going live and all that means nothing to her. That's just
Uh huh.
silly. Like you need to just go and work in a factory or do something hard labor, which I've done,
Yep.
and that shit sucks.
Yes,
Um,
it does.
it's terrible. I did it for 9 years. It was awful. But it's like you gotta whether you make them a believer or not, it's not up to like you love your grandma. I love my grandma, like, and they come from a different time, and my grandma's super negative, and I love her, and I have to stay clear of her sometimes because of her negativity, because you just gotta
Hmm.
believe in you, and you gotta remember they come from a different time. So like that, hell, women, and my grandma's 93. They couldn't vote. There's a lot of things women couldn't do. So I get it. I have to respect it and understand it, and I'm not trying to change her, but I also can't let her try to change me either. So you just have to you have to go head first, and regardless if anybody's in your corner or not, you just got to do it because you know what you want, you know what you feel, um, and you just gotta keep going. Like I said, my grandma, I love her, but I can't listen to her because she thought the podcast was a stupid idea, and I've been doing it for 5 years. So, and if I didn't do it, I wouldn't be talking to you. I wouldn't have all the friends that I've made. And when I started the podcast, I had like two friends. Now I have
Exactly.
over 100 friends, and
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's. I like to say this a lot, but like my dad, like the Europe trip, I came out of pocket for that. That was all on my dime. For my to help my friend. So he's a musician. His name is Cold Saint. Um, and he's independent, and he's not gonna sign a deal that one doesn't make sense for him, and two he just doesn't want to. He wants to own his music, and I get it. And like my dad, he's like you said, he's a 19. I like to call him a 1950s flight picket fits kind of guy, which isn't a bad thing. It's just the generation he grew up in.
Right.
And he's always telling me, "Why aren't you charging them for this and that and doing this and that?" And I try to explain it to him, and he just doesn't get it. And that's fine because one day it will make sense to him. And you know, I always like to say that. Do you know who Roman Atwood is?
No, I don't.
Oh man. So he's a big YouTuber. He was big back in the day. He was the big prankster back in the day. Uh, anyway, he did YouTube for 5 years for almost nearly every day for free. He didn't make a single penny for the first 5 years on YouTube. And and I'm okay to not make money right away, man. It's just like the money will come. And if you take the money aspect out of whatever you're trying to do in life, it will show up at some point. It will come back in good karma and help you out when you least expect it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, well, it's hard to just bet on yourself, right? Like it's hard to because everything has told you up until this point, like, well, not like much has worked out, but it's just taking that leap of faith and just doing it. Again, it's about not being afraid all the time. If you're petrified your whole life and you're running, you're never gonna know. You're never gonna know
Hmm.
what could have been. And there's a lot of people in their 60s and their 70s and so on who are just like, man, I wish I would have done something with my 30s, 40s, 50s, I wish I would have really put effort into my life and tried to pursue those goals. Um, so yeah, like that's what I mean, I'm literally doing that now. I got laid off my job about 4.5 months ago, and I'm making a little money off my content and going live and stuff. And it's a slow burn. I would say in 2 months I've made $400, but it's still $400, right? Um,
Right. You're proving to yourself that you can make it happen, man. Like the video, my first video that has over 10,000 views, dude. I didn't expect it to get over 10,000 views. I just made it for fun. I thought it was funny,
right.
and it was the worst video I've ever made. I feel like, look at it now. It's the best video I have. Like I took the mindset away from the view count, and I just post what I feel like is good for me and what I want to do. And if it reaches the right audience, it reaches the right audience. Like my videos the last, I don't know, week and a half have only been getting 150 to 250 views, but I don't care. Well, if my worst video can take off, these nicer, higher production videos I'm putting together will take off at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I spent a lot of time trying to work on some of my videos, and I'm just like, why? Like, even when they tell you all these different rules, and use the back camera and use a better mic, and all you do all that shit, and it really doesn't matter. Sometimes it's just the
Or
silliest, nonsensical thing they like.
or post 500 times a day, or
Yeah,
post at 9 a.m., noon,
all that
one
shit.
o'clock, whatever. Yeah, and it's just like, why? I'm just gonna make a video every other day, every 3 days, and post it.
Well, and if you look hard enough, you'll see one video and the next one will contradict the next. Because one will
Hmm.
say, okay, I have 100,000 followers, and one of the things you have to do is you have to, as soon as you post, you got to leave the app. Then you'll see the next
Yeah,
video and it'll be like, well, no, you can't leave the app. You have to like and follow and interact with five videos, and then you got to post and then stay on there and engage with a bunch of other videos. You can't post and ghost, as they call it. As like it, but the last video I just said that you have to leave, and then there's some videos will say you don't like your video. Then they'll say no, you have to like your own video so that other people will like it. It's the dumbest shit ever. So I don't think there really is any real way of gauging it. I mean, if you have like if you're just like a celebrity, you're gonna immediately get followers regardless. But if you're
hmm,
somebody who's built your following up, and then some people have gotten lucky, right? Some people are like, hey, my third video blew up. And it's like, all right, more power to you. But I think it's a crapshoot, man. I don't think there is any real, like, I don't think hashtags really matter all that much. I don't think any of that shit matters. I think it helps. But, I have a video that's like 8 seconds long and it's got 35,000 views or whatever the hell it is. And it's
hmm.
it's nothing. It's just a picture with just some audio behind it. Um, And I've posted videos where I really am pouring my heart out. I've cried on videos and they don't do shit. So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
it's like there's a TikToker I follow. I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but he had this video where he jumped from one side to the other side. He couldn't figure out how to get back, and it made no sense. But it did like 1.5 million views, and I see this dude pumping out high quality content every day that's maybe doing 500 views, and it's just crazy because I see the work he's putting in, and that's what motivates me is seeing people that I want to surround myself with doing well, and people that I want to succeed doing well. And it's also hard at the same time because like the people that matter to me the most, opinion wise, don't get it and don't get what I'm doing or why I'm doing it, and that to me is hard because like I'm putting together a short film, and I just finished the rough draft to the intro, and I'm doing a little voiceover for the intro, and man, I want to send it to everybody I know, and I'm like, man, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? And, it would make no sense to them because they don't see it the way I see it, and like that to me sucks because their opinions are the opinions that matter to me the most.
Yeah, absolutely. I I don't know about you, but I find myself sometimes over explaining stupid shit where I'm just like, why am I
Yes.
explaining myself too much? And I realize like the people, like I wear a bunch of like cartoon mashup shirts that just, they make sense if you understand. Like I was wearing this one shirt the other day where it's, do you know like of Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon and stuff?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so I have this shirt where it's Frieza and Beerus doing the fusion dance, and it turns into Mewtwo. And if you don't know either of those shows or those animes, you don't understand the reference. You don't understand what the whole shirt is doing. But it's like it's just one of my just cute shirts that I wear, and I just liked it and put it on. And sometimes I feel like somebody will be like, "Well, I don't get the shirt," and I'm like, I gotta explain it. But the reality is like there are people out there that are gonna get it.
Hmm.
And I found out like by going live and posting all my content, like there are people that get things that I just like. For instance, like something really small. Like I've always been a person who likes the colder weather. I don't like hot weather. I hate the summer. It's just not my thing. And I feel like most of the people in my life are always the opposite. They love the heat, hate the cold. And then I started going live and stuff, and people were like, I just start complaining about the heat, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, that's how I feel." And all of a sudden, I found hundreds of people who also hate the heat, and you realize there are people out there that are like you. There are people that like the same things or dislike the same things as you. It's just you got to find them. You're not, it's just like what we were talking about earlier. Like it's not going to come easy. You got to work for it. You're
Hmm.
not going to go into your first live and somebody's going to donate the biggest gift that you can offer. No, they're not. You're going to get a bunch of small, tiny gifts, and you're going to get every so often, you're going to get a Galaxy that's worth $10. You're going to get 450 from it. And little by little, you'll start working your way up and making money. And it just happens. Like I've been doing this. You're talking about that YouTuber doing his show for 5 years. I've been doing my podcast for 5 years. I haven't made a dime off
Right.
this podcast, but I love doing it because I know it helps people, and that's more valuable to me than any dollar I could make. Don't get me wrong. I would love to make money off it, but right now I'm making money off the TikTok, so I'll do that. But yeah,
And it,
go ahead, buddy.
and it goes back to, everything counts, even the stuff that you don't think counts. You know, this episode could be the biggest episode. You just don't know it till it comes out. The next episode you make could be the biggest episode. The next 10 episodes you could make could be the worst episodes, but could be the biggest. And it's all a gamble, and it all comes down to you trying and not knowing what's going to happen on the other side. And I feel like the world just looks at life as a job, and you're guaranteed that pay from your 9 to 5. You're guaranteed that check in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
But those big dreams that you really want to proceed and pursue are not guaranteed, and that's okay. Like this film I'm putting together, so I'm gonna go film everything in one day. I'm gonna go do it August 2nd. It's a Saturday. Um, I'm doing everything in the span of like 8 hours, and dude, it could turn out to be the worst thing I ever put out, or it could turn out to be the biggest thing I ever put out. And I get like Nikon and DJI and Canon, whoever ever to want to sponsor me because of it, because I tried and I'm following my dreams and my goals.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it comes down to you just never know who's watching. I say this all the time. I have over 30,000 downloads on this podcast. I don't know more than half the people that have listened to the show. I have no idea who they are. There's somebody out there that has never commented, liked, subscribed, or anything to anything I've ever done, but they've been watching. And somebody could be watching. It could literally be friggin' Eminem. I don't know. It could be anybody, right? It could be somebody out there who has some say and power, but they just want to see if you're legit. They want to see if you really are who you are. And it comes down to it. And I think that's part of, I'm not a very religious person, but I do believe in God. And it's like, I feel like there's the relationship that I have with God is more or less, I know that I'm going to have to put in most of the work. He's the one that kind of, turns all the lights red to green. He helps
Hmm.
push me to the next stage. He helps kind of mitigate some of the things that would have normally got in my way. And if something gets in my way right now, that means it's just not for me yet. And it's like playing a video game and you just get to a level and you see that there's the other, you could almost cross to the next level, but there's like a something in the way, and it's like you don't have access to this yet. So in time you will, but right now you don't have it. You have a locked door, you don't have the key yet. All right, cool. And you just keep it going and keep having faith in yourself and God and whoever else, and you keep it moving. And like I've been on this like 4.5 month journey. My unemployment's gonna run out here in about a month and a half, and I'm like, what in the fuck am I gonna do for employment? Like, what am I doing? Like, I'm making money off of TikTok, but like it's not enough. What am I? But there's still this part of me that's just going, like every time that little like cartoon like bubble pops up, I just pop it and just keep it pushing and go, nope, I don't know what the hell's coming, but I'm gonna keep going. I ain't giving up. Like if you beat a disease, you beat mental health, you beat trauma and abuse and all these things, you can beat a little bit of unemployment. You'll be fine. You've been here before, and it's just it's weird, but it's very satisfying when you actually start to just believe in yourself.
Exactly, and that's something that people just don't fully understand for some reason. Is if you can believe in yourself, you can do anything you want. And people look at like these uh, celebrities and think they're superhuman. At the end of the day, they're human. Like,
Yeah.
look at the come up from. So I'm a big, big Machine Gun Kelly fan,
Okay.
and I'm also a big Eminem fan. I don't care that they beefed. I don't care. I'm not a. Oh, I think Eminem won, so I have to be an Eminem fan now the
Right.
rest
Right.
of my
Right.
life. I can't.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they beefed. Guess what? Both songs were decently good. At the end of the day, I'm gonna listen to what I want to listen to. But look at the come up from Eminem and MGK, man. They both came up poor, and they made something of themselves at the end of the day, and that should be motivated. But Machine Gun Kelly is looked at as the guy that changed genres because he got dissed by Eminem.
Well, and the irony about it, and again, I do like MGK. I'm a much bigger Eminem fan, but I do like some of his music. The irony is that they're very similar, and neither one of them
Yeah.
want to admit that shit. But they are very similar, and not about the hair color and their color of their skin. Forget all that shit. Just where they came from and everything they've dealt with, and drugs and all that shit. But I mean, it's going through it right now with like the Kendrick Drake thing, right? Like now it's not cool to be a Drake fan, and it's like, look, I don't support him hanging out with young girls, but I liked his music, so I'm not gonna just be like, oh well, fuck Drake now. Like people just like things have to be cool or whatever, and it's like, yeah, MGK has no chance because Eminem is just way too big in that
Oh, dude,
in
yeah.
that sense. It's not even close, but. It's like if you like MGK, listen to MGK. It's not that big. It's or whoever, whatever you listen to. There are people that still listen to R. Kelly or Michael Jackson. It's like I get why victims don't want to listen to it, but if somebody wants to listen to it and got them through a hard time, like someone came in my live the other day and were like, "Hey, I love Juice World," and I'm like, "All right, but just don't," because I think their name was like #1 Juice World fan, and I'm like, "Look, man, I understand he was a talented kid, but please don't idolize him because he predicted his own death and it happened." And a lot of
He
these young
did.
kids, they idolize these people, and they go down the same road they do. And he's like, well, he helped get me through a really tough time. And I'm like, that's great. But he will also be your downfall if you keep following him. And when I grew up, Eminem was the biggest thing, and he's still huge. But when I grew up in the '90s, he was so big, and I loved his music. But I didn't agree with him beating his wife. I didn't agree with the drug use. I didn't idolize him. I just
Right.
liked his music. Now, I mean, I'm happy who he turned into as being a father and sober and all that. But I was too young to even understand any of that shit. I just liked him. But these kids now, they idolize these people, and that's
Oh,
that's,
man,
that's scary.
and not just that, but like look at MGK dude. As a father. That is a man that you could idolize. Like him as a father, it's just so beautiful and awesome that like he took something terrible, had a kid at such a young age. I don't want to say it's terrible, but
No, no, sure.
he financially wasn't ready for it. He has a video of him walking into the hospital saying, "When you're older, we'll be rich and successful." And dude, that to me is so motivating because he believed in himself.
Yeah.
And if you see their relationship, man, it's so beautiful and so cool that just because one person does something bad doesn't mean their other relationship with somebody is terrible. You're going to be the hero to somebody's story, but the villain to somebody else's story at the end of the day.
Oh yeah.
And we all care about people's opinions when those opinions don't matter and those opinions don't have an impact on our success and our careers.
Yeah. Absolutely. So like as we kind of wind down here, like you seem to be, a very sure of yourself type of person. You're strong and you've made it through hell. You're still here. Like obviously the movie's a big thing. You want to move to San Francisco. Is there any other like goals that you're going to accomplish or something that you're really pushing towards besides those two things?
Yeah, no, I'm a big believer in, saving and saving in a different way. So my goal, like you said, we gotta, splurge a little bit, but
Sure.
my goal is to be financially free by the time I'm 40.
Okay.
And so my goal is to reach 100K saved in my Roth IRA by the time I'm 30.
Okay.
And and that's just for me because I don't want to work a 9 to 5 the rest of my life and borrow time for my future self. I would rather put in the time and invest heavy now and invest in overtime right now to be able to put a little bit more money in my Roth IRA. So later on in time, I could lose that job and, I could have a family later down the road and go, and like maybe if I have kids someday, my kids go, can we go there? I don't want to be the parent that says no because I got to go to work. I want to be the parent that says, yeah, let's do it. I'll take tomorrow off. Let's go. Or, whatever. To me, time is a currency and I'm investing in my future time now in the proper way instead of going into this debt like everybody else is in my generation. My generation's cooked.
Right.
And I don't know if you know this, but you can borrow money on DoorDash now.
Oh,
That's how cooked. That's how cooked my generation is.
Wow. I didn't know that.
The fact that people are just casually borrowing money on DoorDash blows my mind, man.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
Like I had to take a second back and go, wait, what? How? What? But not just that, but film. I want to do camera work. I want to. My biggest company that I would love to work for if I don't run my own company is I'd love to work for Nikon or Sony or Microsoft or Apple. Anything with the camera, man. I just want to be behind the camera or doing all the edits and the post-production. I love creating and I love coming up with an idea and making it come to life visually.
Absolutely. Yeah, that sounds awesome, my friend. Do you have anything to like promote, whether your TikTok or whatever?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find all of my work photography wise at visuallyinspiredphotography.com. Or you could just follow my page on TikTok, which is Visually Inspired Life. And that's going to be everything on all socials, Visually Inspired Life.
Yeah, that's awesome, my friend. Well, I definitely want to keep in touch. Um,
Yeah, for
let's
sure.
definitely stay friends. I'd love to, like, well, if you need anything down the road, please let's support each other. Um, Forget all the visually impaired and all the other shit. Just in general, I think people we just gotta support each other more. Um,
And not just that, but we keep each other motivated. Like
yeah,
I wouldn't have stick to the consistency I've been on with posting on TikTok if it wasn't for the group chat. You know, the all of us talking about our socials and getting together and talking about being blind, man. It's been more motivating than I could ever put in words.
yeah, because you got those who, let's say, are ahead of you who are just doing such great things, and you're like, my God, I need to catch up. And then you got
Yes.
the ones who you maybe that aren't on your level yet, but you feel for them. You're like, man, one of us has to make it out. I have to be the one. I'm not gonna sit
Yep.
here and do it. I need to motivate them, and the only way I can do it is, lead by example. So, it
And
goes.
and that's what's so good about this for me is, man, I think he's 17, a visually impaired gentleman. I think he said he was 17. He was lost, and I gave him a little bit of feedback. I was like, man, you don't feel like you have to have life figured out by 18 or 25. Just live and do what you need to do, and be a student of life. And I promise you, you will be successful. And follow your gut. Don't let people's opinions dictate your career in life, because as a blind person, I feel like that is our problem. Is some of our family makes us feel like, we can't do this or do that, but then
Yeah,
there's other pieces of our family that are like, go do what you want, follow your dreams. And that's what I try to do. Is I just try to lead by example, and if I can help one person in our shoes, I've done what I tried to do.
yeah, absolutely. That's how I've said when it comes to, like, if I leave this earth and I made a small percentage, like a small dent in people with disabilities being unemployed or whatever of the plights that I'm going after, I then I did my job. Like, any way I could have, if I helped a few people feel less alone, I helped a few, whatever it is that I did, then it was a successful journey, because my goal is to try to make people, especially people with disabilities, feel like, hey, man, they can do anything they want. Just they got to do it their own way. And if it gets a little better, after my passing, then I did my job. I'm good with that.
Yes, exactly.
All right, my friend, we're gonna wrap up, but I really do appreciate you, brother. We're gonna keep in touch. I said, we can talk here maybe in a little bit, but I gotta go eat and do some things. But it was a pleasure
I got
having
to
you
get
on.
ready for work anyway, man.
All right, brother. Well, it was a pleasure
All right.
having you on, my friend.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, buddy. I'm wishing you luck for everything you're trying to get.
Thank you. You too as well.
All right, brother.
Have a good day.
You too, buddy. Bye. All right, guys. We're gonna head on out of here. Bullet is being all cute and snuggly. I gotta go eat a sandwich. I'm starving, and yeah, my eyes have been really bothering me. So we're gonna try to push through here. I'm yeah, man. Life's been a little challenging lately, but we'll get through it. We'll get through it. Um, if you need a friend, please reach out to me, man, anytime. Um, yeah, if you want to find me or follow me, I keep mentioning TikTok so much. So if you want to follow me, it's at My Blurred Opinion. I post every day, about 4 or 5 times a day, and I try to engage with everybody. So if you want to chat with me, just message me anytime. All right, guys, I'll see y'all later, and it's been a pleasure. I'll see y'all next week. Thanks. Good boy.